Ready?
Set, go. Go.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Kim. Today we wanted to bring a video to you about how to cope with unexpected news as parents. This could be anything, right? Like
Autism, ADHD, learning disability or reading disability, or anything at all. Could be anything.
yeah, anything that comes along that you weren't necessarily expecting in terms of news about your child. Or yourself for that matter. So we've come up with kind of our top 5 tips or suggestions on things that can help to get you through that time in your life. And these are things that we have found to be really helpful in our journey. For those of you that don't know much about us, we have a daughter named Marley who's 2 years old, and we've faced kind of a lot of different unexpected things in our first 2 years with her, or even before that, before she was even born, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've experienced, learning that she has a heart defect, learning that she would need eyeglasses at a young age, and that she's hard of hearing and would need hearing aids and has some developmental delays. So all of those things were not things on our radar or things that we anticipated when we, learned that we were going to be becoming parents. And so as those things came up, we just kind of had to learn how to get through them. And so since we have done that a few times now, we're wanting to share with you some of the things that we've done to help get through that. We've come up with 5, did I say that? I don't know. We've come up with 5 tips.
So the first one of the 5 tips is feel your feelings. And that one sounds like a no-brainer. It sounds kind of easy. We all emote a little differently, and Kim and I couldn't be any more different on how we do that. But when it comes to our experience with Marley, tell them a little bit about what that was like for you.
Yeah, so like Mark just said, I'm not a super overly emotional person or someone that shows my feelings a ton. And so each time when we would go through that process of learning something new that we weren't expecting, it kind of it hit me really hard. And I have to say, I'm very, very lucky in the sense of having Mark as a husband who's a mental health therapist.
I don't think they heard that.
Should I say it louder? Anyway, I'm very lucky because he has helped to kind of coach is not the right word. What's the right word?
Well, I think there's a fine line because, as we said in our first video, I'm a therapist, and I also have to keep in mind that Kim is never my patient. She's my partner, and I try to not therapize.
Right, but I also benefit from just him being my partner and having that, we talk on a regular basis, obviously, and having that kind of person who has that knowledge and that basis of expertise, is helpful. And so for me, coming from a place where I'm not super emotional or used to feeling a ton of feelings, when these different, times came up throughout our journey with Marley where we would learn something, I would feel very deeply, and it was helpful for Mark to kind of help guide me through that it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling, whether you're mad or sad or grieving or scared, all of that, whatever you're feeling essentially is okay. And that's kind of one of the first tips that we're giving, is that just be okay with whatever emotions you are feeling. Just allow yourself to feel them. Don't try to bury it, right?
Yeah, people will inadvertently tell you not to feel what you're feeling too. Don't be scared, don't be sad, don't think about that. But realistically, if you reject your feelings, it just gets worse. And I think I saw you grow a lot in that time period, because I don't think I ever saw you scared of anything. And you got really good at asking for help and asking for support when you needed it.
Teaser, that's tip 2.
That's tip 2. We're just really good with interviewing skills, and we just moved right into topics.
Do we?
there.
Oh, should I not have
just lay them right. No, see, it was just a pure blend there.
Got it. Tip 2, ask for help.
I think it's really hard to ask for help when you don't know what you need. And I think when we first found out about Marley, I wouldn't have known what to ask for. And in this situation, I think that worked well with our dynamic, because you were able to ask for what you need. If you needed space, if you needed support, if you needed a hug, you were really good about asking about that. And that shift, maybe it's because I'm great. I don't know who it's about, but
Possible.
But that's a hard thing to do when you don't know what you need.
Right. Right. So relying on family or friends, or just, being honest with those that are close to you, and telling them what you could use. And, when people reach out and say, what can I do to help? Actually ask them for something.
You may not know. You may not know what to say. You can just say that, and let people insert themselves how they want to. That leads us to tip number 3.
Yeah, tip number 3 is self-care. So obviously you're not always the focus of like what might be going on. If you're learning something new about your child, or something along those lines, your first thought might not be about yourself, but it's really important to take that time to focus on yourself too, knowing that you're also going through the stress of learning that new piece of information, and that's going to hit you in whatever way it does. And so our suggestion here is to just, do what has worked for you in the past. Don't necessarily change up, your routine and all of a sudden try a million new things, but you know yourself best. You know what has worked for you in the past in terms of just getting to a good place, whether that's, exercise or meditation or waking up early just to take time for yourself. Like, make sure that you are making yourself a priority, even though you might not feel like you are one.
Many of you are going through this with the whole COVID pandemic that we've experienced. Nobody was ready for that. Nobody knew that they were going to have to teach their kids, and they, a lot of people don't identify as teachers. And so now we're all having to figure out, how do you take care of yourself? What do you do when you're working full time and teaching full time and you have no break and you're doing everything you can to support these humans that you made? Stick to the basics, do what works. And if you don't know what works, we're here to help with some of that stuff and to try to give as many ideas as possible. Whether if there is a new skill that you're interested in, ask a friend, ask your therapist, but branch out, read, do whatever you can do to try to focus on your own personal growth. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you need it to. It's going to be tremendously difficult to take care of somebody else.
Yeah.
If you're not doing the things that you need.
So that brings us to tip number 4, which is utilizing resources.
This one's really important for us. This has been a really neat thing for us.
Yeah, definitely. So, as we've learned new things throughout the last 2 years in terms of what Marlene needs, we have really needed to rely on others that specialize in different things that we can't give her. But the starting point is always the research of, what does my child need? So if you have a child who's, delayed in speech, or is having a really hard time with fine motor skills, or is not balancing well, like whatever the case may be, take that time as a parent to kind of do some of your own research, and really advocate for them, and see what services or resources you can pull in to help your child. A really great example of this with Marley is that we knew from a young age that there was a possibility that she had a genetic disorder called CHARGE syndrome. And so I've done quite a bit of reading on that, on kids with CHARGE and how they present and what symptoms and things they experience. And one of those things was a inner ear imbalance, right? Mm-hmm. That can really throw off their balance, and oftentimes can lead to late walking and things like that. So knowing that she hadn't been walking yet, I had done some research and found this article that had suggested something called hippotherapy. So it wasn't something that the doctors were necessarily presenting to us as like a suggestion, but it was something that I had read about. And so I took the time to find a local service that offered this, and worked with our OT to be able to get this approved and covered through our insurance. And it was a million hoops to jump through, and there was many times where we could have just been like, you know what, it's not worth it or whatever. But really like taking the time to advocate for her and like, no, I think this will really help, in our situation.
It really did.
And it really did. I mean, what?
She rode the horse 3 or 4 times and she
began walking.
Started walking. It's really cool. I know there was a lot of hard work that went into that.
Of course.
Which we'll get into another time. But.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk about the hippotherapy in a lot more detail in another video.
But, the hippotherapy, having OT, Kim taught herself sign language. And then we were able to get a actual sign language teacher who came to our house, who was phenomenal. It has helped Marley learn a language that otherwise she wouldn't be able to really communicate much if she didn't have it. So really go out there, ask questions, ask us, ask other parents.
Use whatever resources you have, and if you don't have them at your fingertips, like go out there and research and see what's out there that can help your specific situation. And our last tip is stick to the facts and stay present.
So I think it's really easy to, especially when you learn about something unexpected that could be catastrophic or terminal or life-altering in any way, whether it's this pandemic we've all just experienced and are experiencing, or like for us with Marley's heart condition. It's really easy to get carried away with what's going to happen or what did happen or what might happen, or a lot of things that if you're already an anxious person or even just having an experience like this creates a lot of fear of the unknown. And so do what you can to stick with the facts. If you have professionals in your life and to prevent presenting the facts, stick with what you know, and also do what you can to stay present. All of the behaviors, all of the things that happen right now. You can't do much about what already happened, and you can't control everything that happens in the future. So we've learned a lot about trying to be mindful and present and seek more information on how to do that, and that has helped us throughout the whole parenting process. And when you were pregnant, you were really worried that there was something you did to cause this, and I think that really bothered you for some time.
And that led me to what's the right word? I was obsessive about that thought when we first found out about Marley's heart condition.
Retracing every step.
Literally retracing, at what week does her heart develop, and did I do something that week? Yeah, or did I lift a box that was too heavy? And Mark would have to remind me, let's stick to the facts. Let's not let our minds go to all these deep dark holes, or these wandering thoughts of what ifs or what's going to happen then. Let's just stick to the present, what we know right now, stick to the facts, and take it one step at a time. And that was really, really, really helpful in getting us through all of the steps that we've been through.
So that was our list of tips to use to cope with unexpected news as parents or anything in life.
We hope you found it helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to our channel. We would love to make more videos on different topics in parenting and all things related.
Feel free to let us know what you want to hear about.
Yeah, feel free to comment if there's anything that you're very interested in, or mildly interested in,
Just a little bit.
medium interested. Let us know.
Cover all the bases.
And yeah, remember, parents with presence
Are the best kind.
Thank you. So today we wanted to pring.
Ping.
We were going to say that for the end of the video.
Sorry about that.
That's the long and short of it.
Sounds like it.
We're going to kind of present presenters
We don't have a PowerPoint.
in all areas of life. We hope you found how to cope with